Hello, everybody. I guess I could have done a risky business sort of Tom Cruise move, but all my underwear is in the laundry. So let me turn down this so you don't get any feedback. Welcome, everyone. Oh my goodness, I've never been so winded coming in for an entrance. Thanks, I can see you're here live on my side screen, and what a fun episode, number 100, obviously, the centennial episode, so to speak, and I'm so happy to have you all here live with me or on replay. This has been an absolute honor and a privilege to share Paris with you 100 times in this fashion. So I wanted to get that out there, but lest I forget at some point to share my appreciation for the fact that you all have been here. Many of you out there, and you can let me know in the comments, were there from episode number 1, and that was almost 3 years ago. And it's been quite a beautiful journey, and I'm so happy to arrive at number 100, and I'm excited to see what we come across in the future as well. But we're not quite into the future yet. We've got still episode number 100 to do. So this is Provins. This is a medieval city that is just over an hour outside of Paris to the southeast. It's about 55 miles or 90 kilometers if you're keeping count. And it is an absolute gem and really one of my favorite day trips. I had been planning to do this tour live on site through the streets of Provins, and that was my plan months ago, but obviously the year 2020 has had different plans for all of us. So we're going to do it as a home edition. As you can see, I'm back in my home. Let me check in with everybody here. I feel like I'm sweating. It's not that warm in here, but... So there is a function on this app that I use that I swore in 1,000 years I would never ever use, but today it's sort of fitting, so why don't we just enjoy it for just a minute. Yeah, episode 100. And of course, I brought some of this, so... Oh, jeez. Oh! Didn't plan on that. So don't tell Charlotte. Oh, I hope she's not tuning in. She's actually at the park right now, so I don't think she saw that. Yikes. Anyway, here we go. Some fireworks, and a cheers to you all. Thank you so much for 100 great episodes. And I look like I've taken, I don't know if you can see that, my hand is soaked in champagne, and I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. So I hope some of you are drinking with me. Certainly you're gonna drink a little bit later during our cafe chat for my Patreon members. And cheers to 100 episodes. It tastes pretty sweet. In fact, I've been off alcohol for a long time trying to eat better and eat cleaner. So this actually is a very naughty little cheat for me. What it also means is I got to be very careful because some of you know I'm already quite the lightweight. And the fact that I haven't drank alcohol in so long is, I'm in a little bit of the danger zone. Highway to the danger zone. 2 Tom Cruise references so far. Thank you, Ellen Betancourt, for that super chat, reminding me, because I always forget. Let's turn this off, by the way. This was just for fun. Thank you, Ellen, for the super chat, reminding me to remind you that the super chat function is available if you're live. Right now, you should see the $sign, and that's a very easy, direct, quick way to support the cause. I appreciate that. And of course, you can become a Patreon member if you're not already, and that link is in the description. Yesenia says, you did it, Corey. Yay! Linda Davis says, congratulations. Stephanie says, you look super fit. Why, thank you, Stephanie. Why, thank you. It's always nice when people notice, but I have been working on that. Thanks. Peggy Baker with the super chat. I appreciate that, Peggy. You've been a long-time supporter, as many of the folks have here in the audience, so thank you. I got to be careful that I don't drag this introduction out too long, though, because we've got a nice long slideshow to enjoy of Provins, the medieval city, just an hour outside town. Cheers again to you. Whew, I can already taste the danger in that champagne. So, Ellen Corradini, thank you. She says, merci, here's to 100 more, and hope to see you in person in 2021. Yeah, I hope to resume giving my walking tours in 2021. Of course, like I said before, 2020 kind of does whatever the hell it wants, and so 2021 hopefully won't be the same, but we'll see. I really appreciate that, Ellen. Now, before I jump into this, I have to mention this episode was a little bit different and a little bit fun because one of my research sources for prepping this tour was this thin little sort of booklet about Provins, as you can see. Is that reversed for you? Yeah, it is reversed. Hold on. Can I fix that? I'm sure I can fix that. La, da, da, da. There we go. Maybe I should have done this from the start. I don't know. But anyway, you can see that, right? This was actually created by an 11-year-old version of my wife, Charlotte. She made this, and I asked her the story, because, of course, when she heard that I was doing Provins, she was like, oh, let me dig something out of the closet. Apparently, when she was 11, she went on a school trip. She grew up in the Paris area. And they all went to Provins. And at the end, the teacher told them when they got back that they all had to create a report of what they had seen. Any version, like write a little research paper or whatever. And Charlotte, being the overachiever that she has always been, came back with this to the teacher. This laminated, as you can see, multi-page layout of Provins. And the teacher, according to Charlotte, said, listen, you were supposed to do something on your own. I can't have you just going and buying a booklet from a gift shop and turning it in as your project. And Charlotte said, no, my dad and I made this. We printed it out, we laminated it and everything. So pretty fantastic. So as you can see, I got a little bit of info in here. In fact, some of this tour was researched with the help of my wife, Charlotte. So well done to her. Even at 11 years old, she was killing it. Thanks, Tammy Bohannon, for that super chat. Really, oh my goodness, they're coming in. David Dubois with a very generous donation. I appreciate you, David. You're a fantastic freak. And Camilla Fennell as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Let me make sure. Dottie Brown, boy, they were coming in fast and furious. Maybe these are for Charlotte's book and not necessarily for this tour, or for me. That's fine. I'm totally fine with that. Nancy Brisson, I can see you there. Heather Jackson with an amazing donation too. Boy, you're all so wonderful. Christina Consolet, congrats, Corey. Here's to 100 more. And also Christina, who hosts our Free Reads, which is a book club, private book club for Patreon members. She hosts that, and she wants to remind everybody today at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, if you have read the book that was assigned to you in the book club, Christina's going to be waiting to join you online at 12 p.m. today Eastern Time. And Laura Poffenberger, I see you there too. Félicitations à Corey pour... Oh, she went French here. Hold on. I'm gonna give it the proper pronunciation for you, Laura. Félicitations à Corey pour l'épisode 100 du Baron et de la Baronne von Poffenberger. So thanks for... She says, congratulations for episode 100 from the Baron and the Baroness Poffenberger. That's a little inside joke that I call them the Baron and the Baroness. Okay, my goodness. Janet Wambolt says thanks, and here's to another 100. This is an amazing introduction, folks. Tammy, I think I mentioned you. Margaret C., thank you for the super chat. Natalie Hayes. If you're watching on the replay right now and you're bored, you can just fast forward. I wouldn't blame you, but this is lovely to be able to acknowledge all of you. Thank you, Natalie Hayes. I really appreciate that. And Ricky Beltran says, congratulations, Corey. Ooh, this is amazing. Sorry, I hit the mic. Thank you, Phyllis. Says, happy 100th, Corey. Here's to many more. This is just proof, as you can see, of how amazing my audience is and my supporters. And it's just, I'm still feeling the love 100 episodes later, almost 3 years later. By the way, we're going to have to do yet another celebration for when we hit the 3-year mark for the live tour project. So let's get slightly more lubed up and jump right into this. So Provins, I think I said everything that I wanted to say. And let's begin with some photos. These are all photographs that were taken by me when I visited perhaps a year ago. Some of these shots are from sunset, but I wanted to begin with the outer perimeter of Provins and give you a bit of a backstory. And of course, we're going to walk through and visit some of the famous monuments. And I'll tell you a few things, as I often like to do. Thanks to Keith for sending the super chat, as well as Lucienne Despota. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Lucienne. And she says, merci Corey de nous donner Paris. Thanks for giving us Paris. And Marty Fankhauser sending some love as well. I appreciate you all. This is incredible, incredible. So Provins, the first mention of it goes way back to the year 802, believe it or not. 802, it was mentioned in a text by Charlemagne, Holy Royal Emperor Charlemagne of the France region. So 802 is when we get our first documented mention of Provins, again, just barely an hour outside of Paris, and it really hit its stride in its heyday right in the heart of the Middle Ages. We're talking the 13th century, the 14th century, and what it became known for at that time was a huge commercial hub and this very prosperous city where they would have markets and like a marketplace and banking and money lending and exchanges going on. And it was one of those hubs. It was sort of a crossroads of all of these trade routes going right through this geography east of Paris. And it really became, for years and years and years, an absolute famous hub for trade in all of Europe. People came from all around. Thank you, Sheila Minor. I'm so glad to see your name there. That's fantastic. It's I haven't heard from you in a while, Sheila. I hope you and all of your copious family that I know you have out there in Utah, I hope that you're all doing just fantastic. And hey, John Woods, I see you there as well. He sends a super chat saying, "You always make us happy." And I do have to apologize if I interrupt myself during this talk to give people shout outs, but of course I always have to. I really appreciate it. So the building that we see here, let me start the slideshow here. What we see here is this going to work for me? Yeah, there we go. So luckily about 3/4 of a mile of this perimeter, these ramparts, still remain, and you can visit them. When you visit Provins, you can even walk along them, walk along the top. And so we'll start with some shots of the exterior here. At various times, Provins was governed by French noblemen of the Champagne region. It was invaded by the English. It was ruled by the Knights Templar. It was attacked by the French revolutionaries. So a real sordid and rich history here of this one city. And it had a far-reaching reputation in the Middle Ages, as I said, as a prosperous trading hub, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. Thank you, Elaine Livingood. She says, "Merci, Corey, for many, many hours of beautiful Paris and beyond." So the wall construction that we see here is mostly from the 13th and 14th centuries. And it was a project that continued throughout many successive kings as they would sort of take the torch, as it were. And France has several of these preserved cities all around, but this one is unique because the wall is made of many different architectural styles. You have octagonal, I think you just saw, you have square towers, you have octagonal towers, you have rounded towers like this one. And what made this one so unique, or these towers so unique, is we take this for granted, but the rounded medieval tower, this military defensive tower, they weren't always round. That had to be an invention that would come along around this time, where previously they just had flat or square towers to protect pieces of geography. And if you think about that, when the enemy's artillery would come flying, a cannonball, an arrow, or a catapult, whatever, it would be a lot easier to get a direct hit if there were flat surfaces. But the fact that they invented, so to speak, this round concept of a tower, all of a sudden it deflected the enemy's artillery in a much better way, as you can imagine. So we take that for granted, but again, the rounded towers were an absolute technological innovation, militarily speaking and defensively speaking. Thanks, Lois Heiss. I can see you there with the super chat. And Cheryl Matzker. Hi, Cheryl. It's so great to hear from you. She says, "Thank you for bringing all of us together. We are Paris family." That's for sure. That's for sure. So we're approaching the entrance here, and look at this beautiful main entrance. There were several entrances to get into Provins, and we're going to pause here. We're going to zoom in here, and I'm going to pause. So this is generally where you enter when you're coming from Paris. In fact, this entrance was, in the Middle Ages, very, very busy and very populated because it was the path to and from Paris, the capital. And oh my goodness, I can't even keep up with the super chats, folks. I'm so sorry. Dottie Brown is sending the love. Elizabeth D, thank you so much. Tina Marie Landis says, "Congrats, Corey. I'm not sure why my super chat rounds down a penny, but you enrich all our lives. I love our frites, my tribe." Tina Marie. You know what, Tina? If you're trying to send me $20 and I get $19.99, we're going to call that good. I don't know who's taking that extra penny out there out in the interwebs, but we'll give it up. I absolutely appreciate it. Laura Mirles says, "Congrats, Corey. Happy 100. Thanks, everybody. This is just, I'm really feeling an outpouring of affection and appreciation for this series. Thank you so much. Back to what I was saying. So I want you to imagine the scene in the 13th century, the 14th century. Because this was such a a hub of commerce and trade within these walls. You got to imagine this, the scene that would have been set out here. First of all, let's imagine that there would have been a drawbridge right here. Okay, and a drawbridge here, and then all of this, if I can manage to draw, hold on. This never works quite right. Okay, all of this right here wouldn't have been here, so there would have been a moat, a trench. Hopefully you saw that in my previous images. So this would have been a hole. The drawbridge would have come down to let people in, and then also, originally you would have had crenellations, probably even up here actually, to make it more accurate. And then crenellations here. You would have had the whole effect, and then in these towers, I understand, used to have little peaks like that. So I don't know if that totally ruins the photo for you or gives you a better idea, but imagine the drawbridge coming down, and this entrance would have been packed with people wanting to get in. You know, it would be vendors with pilgrims and merchants. They would have leather and vegetables and carts overflowing with oriental silks and Russian furs and barrels of wine and spices and vegetables and wheat. And what they also had is there are 3 levels here, in fact. Let me show you here. So there is a level where you would walk up here. Inside the wall, there would be tunnels and entrances and whatnot that the soldiers could get through. But what they'd also do is put underground, what you can't see, is there's another access within the wall, embedded within the wall, where you can get from one tower to the next. And there would be a spiral staircase here and a spiral staircase here. That's the international symbol for spiral staircase, by the way. So anyway, you get the idea. So just within the wall, you would have a secret embedded tunnels. Of course, if you're getting attacked and invaded, you would want to be able to move your personnel and your armaments very, very quickly and very efficiently. So that's how you enter Provins. Let's move into the city itself. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hi, Sharon Peterson. Thank you so much for that super chat. Sylvia says, looking good for 100, and Dean Moriarty sends some love as well, as does Linda Rothrock. Boy, I can't keep up with it. Sue Saint Laurent. Oh, my goodness, you are all so amazing. This is as you enter the entrance and go underneath, and you can see the windows that we're looking down, and then this is the back side of it as well. Not quite as fancy, because the front of the entrance, of course, is the fancy one to impress the pilgrims and the merchants and the tourists coming through. I asked the locals to place that white van there just so I could get the perfect composition, by the way. So this is an absolute one of those great medieval cities that's frozen in time that we love so much. And it's not just about visiting the monuments, but it's absolutely about just walking around and enjoying the half-timber houses, which we'll get some good looks at. And I believe we have an image coming up here as well to the left as you enter. This is called the Grange, La Grange. And it's one of the hubs of where they would have an indoor marketplace. And you can visit this as one of the, almost as a museum piece. So there's a lot to visit in Provins. We're just going to scratch the surface today, but you can absolutely spend a day or an entire weekend here. And it's one of my all-time favorite weekend getaways or day trips from Paris. Again, if you didn't hear before, the directions of how to get here, I've popped into the description. Ooh, and that champagne's kicking in. I'm going to go for another sip. Here we're approaching the main square called the Place du Châlet. Sorry, the Place du Châtel. Correct myself there, Châtel. There are many restaurants when you come through. A lot of them are quite good. Here is one where you can sit outside, and I don't know what kind of tree that is, but it must look spectacular. And you can see that little Christmas tree. I was here in December, so not too great for the bloomage of the trees. Here's another home that's been converted into a restaurant, a couple of restaurants actually. And this is the square. This is called the Place du Châtel. And again, I mentioned that Provins was at the crossroads in the Middle Ages of these trade routes. And it started out with the Italians coming in and doing a lot of trade in Provins, but then other countries throughout Europe followed suit, and it was absolutely one of the places to be. And they would hold these, very often these fairs, these large outdoor fairs that were called the Foire de Champagne. We're in the Champagne region, give or take. Sort of. I think it's sort of on the edge of Champagne, but it's often referred to as having been ruled by the Counts of Champagne. And so right here in this square, You can see that beautiful well with the ironwork on top. Right here is where they would have those famous markets, a couple of times a year, if I'm not mistaken. And it was just absolutely the place to be. And it was, basically it would make Provins one of the most wealthy cities in all of France, and it was known for that. And in fact, Provins itself had its own textile trade. And so in fact, most of the average laborers that lived in Provins in the Middle Ages were employed by this industry of textile making. And there was plenty to go around, and so it employed a vast majority of the population for a long time, and people would come to trade and sell and textiles in addition to everything else that you would find here. One little bit, I love a good piece of etymology or word origin history, and I found out through researching this a real juicy detail, and I think some of you history nerds out there will really appreciate it. Banking became a big thing here in Provins, and you would have bankers and money lenders and money exchangers, and they would come here during the market and they would do very, very good business. What they would do though is they had a very simplistic stall set up for the banking, and they would just use a bench essentially, sort of a rudimentary desk slash bench. And the name in French for a bench is banc, B-A-N-C, pronounced banc. And the origin of the word banker would come from that word banc or bench, because in French they would call those gentlemen eventually les banquiers. And banquier is banker in French, and it originated from the banc or the bench that they would do their business on. And then of course we came up with our English version, or however that played out historically. But anyway, banker comes from banquier, which comes from the word banc or bench, because in towns like Provins they were doing their business on very rudimentary benches. So hopefully some of you found that as fascinating as I did. Thanks, John MacArthur. I see your donation there. He says late penalty. That's all right. Better late than never, my friend. It's much appreciated. So we're going to continue to walk through the square and then into the streets. You can catch a little glimpse there in the distance of the next point of interest that we're going to enjoy. Danielle's into the etymology. Fantastic. And Cheryl Matsker says, love this word history. And Margaret says, that's a cool factoid, Corey. See, I knew that I found my clan here. I know we're all on the same page with that kind of stuff. Lois is into it too. Leslie says, very interesting. Dean says, great fact. Okay, here we're coming up on a couple of beautiful monuments, and we're at the top of the hill here. We have La Ville Haute, which is the high city, and the Ville Basse, which is the lower section, outside of the walls. So this is called La Tour César, the Caesar Tower. There's a little bit of debate between historians if it has any link to Caesar, the Roman emperor, or if there's another origin. We don't exactly know, I think, why it's called the Caesar Tower. But it has a great history here, and you can visit it inside. So that's where our photos are going to take us today. We're going to visit the tower. First of all, I wanted to show you, set the scene, because there are these beautiful pastoral rural scenes all around this section of the tower, the Caesar Tower, before you even get there. I just want to eat up this scenery. Oh, thanks, Dean. Dean says excellent photos. I appreciate it. Spent a lot of time on this slideshow. So here we're coming back around to La Tour César. It was begun in the 1150s, this beauty. And it was used as a keep. It was used as a watchtower. It was used as a prison. But also one of the key functions was it was a symbol of the prestige of the people who were governing Provins in the Middle Ages, which were the counts of the Champagne region, or les comtes de Champagne. They were the seigneurs, the feudal governors that were basically you had to pay your taxes to and your dues to and whatnot. And they loved this, the counts who were ruling. They loved that this shining beacon and symbol of their power and their dominance was high atop the hill and could be seen for miles and miles and miles wherever you were within Provins and beyond. So this is how you enter. You go through one of these very narrow staircases, and it takes you into a little sort of avant-cour, or a little mini courtyard. And then you enter that door right in the center is where you technically go in and buy your ticket. Thanks, Bob K, for the super chat. He says, happy 100. Thank you, Corey, for your creativity and for this community. Saturday mornings are the best. Thank you, my friend. You are a wonderful member of this community, Bob. Corinne Mateo says, happy 100th. Thank you for bringing Paris to us and all that you do. You're fabulous. Thank you so much. Love that, Corinne. And Kimberly with the love as well. So she says, you are amazing. I love a good roof shot, by the way. A mossy roof, for me, is as good as anything you can photograph. Here's a little scale model as you enter. It gives you an idea of the makeup of the Tour César. Now, only one of the towers, there are 4 towers along the base, and this is the only one that was meant to be lived in. So you can see the fireplace on the left, and there's a latrine, a little rectangular latrine cut out, and that was the only place where anyone could actually live for any period of time. The rest of it was used really, as I said, a prison, storage, a keep, a watchtower, military defense. When the English invaded during the 100 Years' War, they invaded and occupied Provins, and they took control of this and turned it into a military command post. So this is where it gets fun, because as you get up on the first and second floor, you get these lookouts, and you can look over all of Provins, and you get these beautiful panoramas. And so we're gonna savor the flavor here. I've got several photos of the panoramic shots that you can get from the top of the Caesar Tower. This is a religious building that we'll talk about. We'll go inside of a little bit later. I'll talk about that. But you can see there, it's frozen in time in that there aren't any high-rises. Forget about apartment complexes or anything. Within the walls of this protected city, it's a UNESCO protected site. Everything is very much close to what it once was centuries ago. Bob says room with a view. Absolutely. Peggy Baker's complaining that she's been losing time cleaning her house thanks to these Saturday morning videos, but she said she's not complaining, that it takes up some of the housekeeping time. Thank you, Andrea Miles. It's so great to have you. What a fantastic member of the community Andrea is, as is Peggy. Andrea says, merci, Corey. What you have given us in the past 100 episodes is a treasure. Frites, friendship, and community are priceless. Thank you, Andrea. I think you're very priceless as well. And thank you, Laura Long, for the super chat. This is definitely we're gonna break the bank here with super chats, folks. I'm absolutely feeling the love, and it's just another reminder of how incredible you all are and how supportive you are. Anna Tinsman says, congratulations, my friend. I'm excited to see what you'll come up with for the next 100. Whew, that makes me sweat a little bit thinking of another 100 episodes, but I totally get what you mean, Anna, and I look forward to what we're going to be doing in the future as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh my goodness, Jennifer Robinson coming in big with the super chat. She says, this is for the big 100. I'm giving you a huge, huge hug and a kiss, Jennifer, to you and as well to your hunky hubby, Kirk, out there, who's a wonderful guy as well. And I know you and Kirk and your sister are huge, huge lovers of Paris. And I love feeding off your enthusiasm whenever I see you in town. So I very much appreciate that donation. You are all absolutely incredible. As are the views from the Tour César, so I hope you're enjoying these. And these, of course, you have these tiny, with my wide shoulders, I can barely get through here. It's very claustrophobic at times, although if you are claustrophobic, don't worry, because this won't freak you out, this tower. It's definitely doable. And it only goes up a few floors, so as far as heights, you know me, I don't like heights, but I was okay on this one. And when we get up here in a minute, a little bit higher, we're going to see the belfry. There are a couple of bells, at least 1 or 2 bells that are still kicking around here. And there are some details up there that are fun. Let me check in with everybody here. Elizabeth Diamond. Oh, Elizabeth, it's so great to have you here. I want to give you a hug as well. I want to give all of these familiar names a big old hug right now. Elizabeth says, great tour. Thank you, Joyce, for the super chat. From day 1 to day 100, looking forward to the next 100 and to 2021 in-person tours. Yeah, speaking of the hugs, that's when it's going to happen. I'll be giving out hugs like they're going out of style when I finally see you all for my walking tours. And if you're new here, if you're here for the first time, know that And normally I do give walking tours. I'm a full-time tour guide when there isn't a global pandemic. Can you see I'm in love with this church here because I took many, many shots and I decided to just throw them into the mix here because I really can't get enough of these perspectives. Okay, here we're at the very top, of course. Stunning, stunning oak beamage, even though that's not a word. And I'll zoom in on one of the bells here as well. But this is something about being around this old wood makes you feel even more in tune with the history of a place. Excuse me, as you know, once I get into the champagne, the burps are soon to follow. Thank you, Barbara Keeney. Here's another person that I really want to hug. Oh my goodness. Thank you for the super chat. She says, thanks for being you. Oh my goodness. Lucienne's digging the ceiling. Marlene says, oh my goodness. Yeah, so there's one of the gorgeous bells. The only time I'll stare incessantly at pigeon droppings is when they're covering a beautiful old bell. Here's obviously the mechanism that makes it work. So I guess they still ring out from time to time. Danielle says, oh, I just got chills of the forest, referring to the timber roof. So this says Camille, so I don't know when this happened. It seems pretty old, but someone etched their name into one of the beams. And not only someone etched it, but here's an AP, so someone put their initials with nails. So they really took their time here. They got a little bit artistic with it. And God knows how many decades or centuries these little bits of graffiti have been of it. Now you see the sun was starting to shine through. I think this is winter and the sun was hanging low in the sky. So the next shot you're going to see I got a little bit artsy and I found some beautiful lens flares that were coming through and I thought, oh, well, let's throw one of those in there. I was going to throw in like 3 or 4 of these, but I was like, Corey, let's, discretion is the better part of valor. You got to, sometimes less is more. Okay, so now we're down from La Tour César. That is one of my favorite monuments to visit. And then we're going to move on. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump to this church. Although it's got an interesting name. It's called La Collégiale Saint-Kyrias. Saint-Kyrias is a saint I admit I don't know too much about. You don't hear about Kyrias all that often. But it's referred to as a collégiale, this building. It's essentially a basilica. And I'm going to pause here because I do want to point something out. And I also I'd be remiss if I didn't give Elizabeth Comments a shout out because she just sent in a super chat saying, Merci Corey and congratulations. Thank you for keeping us in Paris and creating this group of fun freaks. Happy 100. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I really appreciate that. You are all so amazing. My goodness. I'm tingling inside and I don't know if it's this alcohol. I'm even aerating it to get the full effect. So the reason I paused here is you might say to yourself, oh, the facade of this medieval basilica isn't all that impressive. And let me tell you why. It was started in the mid-1100s, which puts it around the same time as the Caesar Tower that we just went into. And it was done under an order of secular monks. And what happened was they started from the back, and they would always build from the back forward, and the idea is that decades later, or even a century later, they would finally finish the facade. What happened is, let me get my little drawing tool here. This right here, this square represents where it was supposed to be extended. And that's why there's this open leftover space. Because you've got the transept that goes across here, where the dome is. And then what you're supposed to have, for those of you who know anything about church architecture, is you're supposed to have the nave that you build a column here, and you build a column there, and you build a column there and there, and it's supposed to extend out. And then this extends out, and then you put a roof over it, and then the entrance is here. So it has that nice crucifix floor plan. But none of that happened because it took over like 250 years, and they still couldn't find the funds or the organization to complete this project. So what they did is they gave up on the nave that was supposed to take up all this space in front. And they just gave up on it, and they said, you know what, we're just going to slap this very nondescript wall right here. We're not going to extend the church as it was intended to be, and we're just going to put this rather nondescript facade. So there's not much of a payoff, but you'll see on the inside, it absolutely has some of the glory and the grandeur of that medieval church architecture that we love. Here's another look again at the very modest, not quite according to plan facade. Thank you, Barbara Livieri. She says, thanks for 100, Corey. This is beautiful. And I saw another red one. Oh my goodness, the red ones. Juan Ulloa. And Juan, I hope I remember to pronounce your name correctly. Juan Ulloa is just another guy that I just want to give a big old hug to. Thank you, Juan. That is very generous of you, and I'm just feeling the love here. I'm speechless. Well, I'm never speechless when I give these episodes, as you well know, but I'm speechless figuratively. Before we enter here, we got to mention that this was one of the key addresses along the historic path of Jeanne d'Arc, or Joan of Arc. And this says, if your French is a little bit rusty, she says, upon her return from the Sacre, which is the coronation in Reims, she was traveling to Provins and stayed in Provins, in fact. And she listened to or attended a mass in this basilica, the 3rd of August, 1429. 1429, if memory serves. And I don't want to sound like the pretentious guy in Midnight in Paris, but if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the same year that she would come to Paris. The English would be already occupying Paris, the enemies during the 100 Years' War. And in 1429, that was when Joan of Arc had to attack the perimeter of Paris, and she injured her leg. She got an arrow in her leg, but she didn't die. But she was trying to liberate Paris from the English. So that's the same year, a little side note. She said, so she was here in that year with the king, Charles VII. And in fact, Charles VII was the guy who got crowned at Reims. So Reims was the cathedral where all of the kings were getting crowned at that time. And famously, when it was Charles VII's turn, Joan of Arc was there. She was a big proponent. They were friends. They were kind of cohorts and brothers in arms, so to speak, or brother and sister in arms. So we'll enter the church now. Thank you, Yesenia. She says, merci beaucoup, Corey, for all your wonderful work. Congratulations on your 100th episode. Jerry and I enjoy watching you Saturday mornings. Thank you for this wonderful community. The community, Yesenia, is wonderful because you and Jerry are part of it, and I mean that 100%. And Barbara Livieri, I think I mentioned you before, but she said, thanks for 100. This is beautiful. I'm so glad. I hope this is worthy of the 100th episode. I wanted to give us something a little bit special, a bit of a day trip. So you can see here, this is 12th century. This is, again, pretty much the same time that Notre Dame de Paris is starting to be built, which is the 1160s. This is basically right in that same sweet spot. So you're seeing some beautiful classic Gothic architecture. Very clean. It must have been cleaned and restored a few times over the centuries. But it's in quite good shape, even though they never technically completed the building. Here we're near the altar. You can see some of the chairs here for the clergy. Thank you, Haas Manning, my man. Another viewer that I'd like to give a big hug to. He says, loving this. Congrats on the 100th episode. Thank you so much. Thanks, Haas. Can't wait to see you again in Paris, man. Hi, Carlos Silva. Thank you so much for that. Grabbed a quick look at the stained glass here. I have no idea what stories are playing out, but we don't care. We enjoy looking at it nonetheless. So it took about 250 years to complete this church. And when I say complete, obviously I mean that in quotation marks. So we're going to exit the church now in a moment, actually. I'm kind of jumping the gun. This is under the dome. In fact, I'm going to tell you in a minute that the dome portion above the transept collapsed and they had to redo it. That's why it looks a little bare up top. And there's one of the pulpits, good old pulpit. So that is La Collegiale Saint-Kyrias, with a Q-U is how that is spelled. So then when you come out, we're going to go on a little stroll through the streets of Provins. When you come out, you get another beautiful framed view of the Tour César. And I'm just obsessed with this tower, as you can well see. Here's a little ecclesiastical house. Is it ecclesiastic or ecclesiastical? I don't exactly remember what the adjective is, but you get the idea. These are right next to the place, or the square of the basilica. So we're going to take a little stroll and enjoy some of the architecture here. Thank you, Marlene. She says, fantastic photography as usual. Really appreciate that. Corinne says, oh my goodness, breathtaking. Randy says, oh my God, I'm so late. Don't worry, Randy, it's all good. The replay is going to be there for you immediately after. I'm only moderately buzzed on champagne so far. Oh. Let's pause here because this is when you're walking away from the basilica that we were just inside of. As you can see, the sun's setting a little bit. You can see where there was once this, there was a rose window. And it's all filled in now. So what happened was where that dome is used to be an old Gothic medieval transept, maybe even a nice pointy steeple, classic style. But there was a terrible storm that collapsed the entire transept, so they had to redo the roof essentially. And when that happened, it was in the 1660s, which was the time of Louis XIV, Louis the 14th, and he would make sure that everything built under his rule, under his empire, so to speak, was in his style, the Louis XIV style. So he decided to put a dome, which technically doesn't fit with the Gothic medieval style that the church was imbued with at the start, but this is sort of a mashup of styles because Louis XIV was going to do it his way. And so that's why the dome is there, and also probably, it's my assumption, that that rose window was probably made of stained glass and then had to be just filled in. It's a good old-fashioned storm front. The bell tower collapsed as well, and they had to put the bells in the Caesar Tower, and then they were melted by the French revolutionaries. So, you know, classic story for the bells. France wasn't a good place to be a belle at certain times in its history. Elizabeth's comment says, just pulled out my scrapbook from 2007 and a trip to Provins. So these are views as you're walking away. Of course, I just turned around and grabbed a couple shots because the sun was smacking against those stones, those old stones there. I want to remind, if you're a Patreon supporter and in our private Facebook group, we are going to have a celebratory cafe chat. And I'm going to bring on a guest, one of our own, Phyllis Cartwright, who is an amazing community member and supporter of mine since day one. She was there episode 1, way back in the day. And she's going to be my guest, and we're going to chat and just reminisce and drink and eat and spend some time together. So keep in mind, after this, that is one of the perks, one of the rewards for being a Patreon member. You can join me in our Facebook group. If you're not yet a patron, the link is in the description if you want to support this project or any other projects that are yet to come. Oh, thank you so much, Debbie. She just sent I love to see that red color. She says, this is for 100 tours, for the in-person tours we are missing, and for sharing your joy and passion, which ignites ours. Thank you, Debbie. That's so sweet. I wish I could give you guys a hug. I'm giving a lot of virtual hugs in my mind today. Hope you're enjoying this half timber architecture too. You can see these maisons à colombage, as they often say in French. Many of these are from the 16th century, give or take. Some of them a little bit older, some of them a little bit younger, but so many of these buildings, as you can well surmise, are original, or at least from a very, very long time ago. So it's a very well protected and preserved city. Those rooftops. I wouldn't want to have to repair one of those roofs. Looks like a lot of upkeep to me as a homeowner. But here I'm gonna zoom in on something. If you see, there's actually a little ochre plaque in the corner of that building, and we're gonna zoom in. I'm gonna pause here so we can go over what this is, because this is a little point of interest. What this is, it was a special stone, and I'll show you the stone. It's embedded below in the street, and it's from the 13th century. And it says on this stone, in the Middle Ages, it was a stone used to pay dues to the seigneurs, you know, the counts of Champagne that were governing and ruling this area. You would have to pay your feudal dues to these guys, a sort of a tax. And so you would come to this specific stone here in Provins to do so. And then also the text goes on to say that you would pay dues as well to the church, to the local parish. And I'll show you where that stone is. Admittedly, I didn't grab the best photo of the stone that I could have, but you're going to see it in this next image. It's in the bottom there, that circular stone. Apparently that's where you would make those very important payments of taxes and dues, etc. Making our way back toward the Place du Châtel. And keep in mind, we are absolutely just scratching the surface here. You could spend, I think, at least 2 or 3 days in Provins if you really wanted to absorb all of it. because there's the stuff, again, up on the hill where we are here and on this tour, and then there's the lower, the Ville Basse, as it's called, which also has some points of interest. You can visit subterranean tunnels that run underneath Provins. You can visit some of the museums, or they have period rooms set up with mannequins and things to explain that thriving commerce and trade hub that Provins was. As you can see, we're taking a little mini door tour here. Why not? Thank you, Tara. I appreciate that. She says, so lucky to be along for all your adventures. Looking forward to many more. Happy 100. Merci. Thank you, Tara. I really appreciate it. So many of these names I see come up every single episode for the last 100 live streams, and it has been an absolute pleasure to feel the support and the interest and the appreciation. Because that, honestly, I wouldn't be at number 100 by now. I would have never gotten here in the first place if it wasn't for the enthusiasm and the support out there. So know that this episode is just as much thanks to all of you as it is to anything that I've done. And I really mean that. So we're going to make our way out here with a few more shots of the architecture. So again, this is just the tip of the iceberg, but I highly recommend you make your way to Provins one of these days and give yourself at least a good full day trip or even a weekend. I actually have always dreamt of renting a room at a little bed and breakfast here in the old city. I think that would probably be your best bet. Linda says, great experience to just stay here for a while. Yeah. Thank you, Linda, for being here. You're another amazing member of this community. And Belinda Rivera and Joyce. Just all of these amazing names. Jennifer Robinson says, quelle porte. Oh, so fun. And here we're exiting from a different portal. I believe there are 10, or there used to be 10, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see here, if I pause, the wooden parapet, I think it's a parapet. The wooden little platforms up there was of course added for defense, and so they don't use them anymore except for protecting tourists from falling off the top of the wall. But that of course was where the soldiers would be able to fire back at invaders. And I think I mentioned it at the beginning of this video, but know that when you visit Provins, one of the things you can do, I believe, is you can walk along the top of some of these ramparts. And I didn't do it on this trip, but I highly recommend you do so. And then here is our last, back at where we started. And again, as I was leaving, the sun was setting really nice here over Provins. So you can absolutely get here by public transport. It's doable. Check the link in the description if you want to jot that down in your notebook. Christina Consolé says, honestly, everyone to me, Friet has become a synonym for friends. I thank and honor you all. That's amazing. Thanks, Christina, for sharing that. And I'm trying to get rid of this. Can I get rid of this? Doesn't want to go. Interesting. There we go. We'll just do it. I don't know why this doesn't want to work. That's so stupid. That's so stupid. Okay, well, I'll put myself here. No, there. It's just me in Provins. It's like an angel on your shoulder, but wait, this is reverse. So it's Provins on my shoulder. So, you know what? It's episode number 100. Oh, there we go. I was going to say, it just wouldn't be the same if there wasn't some sort of technical glitch, because that is also part of 100 episodes. And I know those of you who have been there since day one, one of the aspects or one of the facets of this project has absolutely been all the technical glitches that we've had to adapt to and work around and find ways to just accept sometimes. And there's been quite a progression of starting very basic and not knowing at all what I was doing and just figuring out as I go. And you all have been so appreciative and so patient with me as I figured it out. And sometimes screwed things up and had to cancel episodes and made myself look stupid, or technical glitches that we couldn't control. But you all just rolled with the flow each time and really helped to show me that it didn't have to be perfect every time. As long as we're together and we're talking about Paris and there's a little bit of bubbly, it's all good. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Ernesto. Ernesto de Jesus, I assume that's how it's pronounced. He says, Félicitations pour 100, for 100. Merci, Corey. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate that, Ernesto. Cheers to you and cheers to everybody else. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, 100 episodes, it's really, I feel absolutely honored, like I said, and it's been a real privilege to share so much of Paris with you. And whether you realize it or not, it's not just the fact that you have watched or donated or have been Patreon members or liked or shared or commented. It's really that you allowed a guy to find his passion and just roll the dice and gamble and allow him to support himself and his family with his passion. And honestly, that gift, I can't think of a more amazing gift to give anybody, another human being. And that's exactly what you all have given me. And I certainly have felt it today. Thank you so much, Deborah Valdez, who sends a very generous super chat. This is incredible. I really hope I didn't miss. Oh, Lori Dean, I almost missed your name. My goodness. She says, congratulations. Thank you for all your amazing knowledge and awesome pictures. Looking forward to seeing you in person in 2021. Danielle Molden, with much love and best wishes to all my freets and, of course, our chief freet. May all of our French dreams come true in 2021. We deserve a damn good 2021, don't we? Thank you so much, everybody. This has been amazing. Bill Donegan, thank you. He said, thanks for all the 100 episodes. Best wishes. So if you're a Patreon supporter, we're going to pop over to the Facebook group. Give me about 5 minutes or so to set that up. Some of you may have seen the menu that Angie Para, member of our community, designed so that some of us can be organized and eat some of the same foods and have some of the same drinks as we hang out. And I'm going to bring on a special guest, one of our own, Phyllis Cartwright, who was there for the very first live stream, as were many of you I know. And I can't think of anybody more fitting to bring on as my guest and to have a chat with and to give a virtual hug to. So we're going to do that. Thank you so much, Jamie DeBrunner. Jamie DeBrunner, if I'm not mistaken, one of our very new Freet members on Patreon. So give her some love in the comments, folks, and welcome Jamie DeBrunner, because that was one of the recent names that I just saw come up as a supporter. Peggy Finkowski, thank you. All these amazing names that I see coming up. She says, happy 100th. Thanks for taking me from the mountains of Colorado to Paris each week. Thanks for creating this community. I am very much grateful for all of you. I find that when I wake up and I think about this project, which happens almost every day, of course, I never think about just that it's me giving something to you and me giving to you and me giving to you. It always in my mind is the other way around. So I just want you to know that. I wanted to officially verbalize that. So, thank you, Larry Ayers. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. It's either Ayers or Ayers. I'm doing kind of the French slant with, but either way, I appreciate that. I feel like I just want to give everybody a chance to say their goodbyes and to say their congrats and whatnot. I don't want to cut you all off too soon. So if you're watching the replay and you just want to bail, I totally agree. This is the end. I'm not going to say anything more about Provins. But I'm just kind of basking. I mean, 100 episodes, I'm allowed to bask at this point. This is great. John Wood says, when I was in the Peace Corps, it was always what I got out of it rather than what I was doing for the country of Ethiopia. Yeah, very well said. Thanks for that, John. Angie says, bask away. Joni says, bask away. Oh, Joni, I'm so glad that I could get to acknowledge you here. Joni Middleton is here, another just amazing, very good friend of Phyllis Cartwright, my chat guest in a few moments. Oh, it's so cute. All of you are saying, bask away. Just go for it. You know what? While I'm basking, I'm a little bit dry here. Can't say the same for our living room rug, though, our carpet. Again, don't tell Charlotte. By the way, I kept the foil on this time And I thought, how come I don't do that every time with champagne? Like, why just tear it off? Just add a little bit of, it's like adds a little bit of flair. It's kind of like a little bit of fun party time, right? Like it's flying through the, hold on, it's reverse. Like it's flying through the air. Hold on, like this. Wait. Like it has a scarf. Let's look at it that way. Like a scarf blowing in the wind. All right. See what happens when I drink this stuff? I just say absolute gobbledygook. Okay, everybody, let's get to our private cafe chat for patrons. Definitely a cheat day as far as my diet goes here. Thanks, everybody. Episode 100 was really fun. And what can I say? I mean, I love you all, and the support has been incredible in every way. And I look forward to what we can do in the future. So have a lovely, lovely weekend, everybody. I will see some of you in a few moments' time over in our Facebook Cafe Chats group. Otherwise, I'll see you really soon with some more Paris content. Take care. Really appreciate you. Thanks for the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful 100 episodes. Ciao. Au revoir.